we go. Brown cow. Brown cow. We are back, episode 5. We are so close to football, less than 2 weeks. You're here. You're either listening on Spotify or Apple or YouTube or wherever you want to be listening, but it is Birds vs. Boys. KMS is here with my best friend. How are you, my friend?
Good. It is good to be back. And by back, I don't mean doing this podcast. I mean just back to cynicism and despair in Philadelphia is pretty much where we're at.
And it's your fault this time.
It is my fault. If we want to jump right into it, we could. This is all my fault. I am the problem. Of all the dumbest morons on earth, I am the biggest. Of all the idiots in Idiotville, I am the biggest. Last week on this show, I bought into the Jalen Reagor comparison to Julio Jones. I was
for
so
about
hyped.
45 minutes.
Yes, I probably said 45 times as well that Jalen Reagor was Julio Jones. Didn't even take a week, not even 7 days, and he got hurt. Unbelievable.
Trying to tackle someone off a Jalen Hurts interception in a scrimmage, correct?
Yes, which is it's such a rookie thing to do. You can't loaf, but you also can't be a tryhard when you're that important to the team. So it's like, what do? Do you try to go for the tackle and look like an idiot and hurt your shoulder, or let the guy go and everyone's like, look at this diva.
You're the team's first round pick. You have so much buzz around you, having such a phenomenal camp. You're gonna be, a starter. You don't want to get hurt trying to tackle a guy, but you also don't want like Boston Scott to be like, look at this douche. He won't even try and tackle the guy. Is that how he's going to play in the game? So It really is such a fine line.
I'm just so mad. Now he's going to be like Julio Jones when Julio Jones didn't score a touchdown for 6 weeks because he's not going to be on the field. I am so sorry. I am such an idiot. I am the dumbest person alive. For me to think that something positive would happen to this disgusting city of despair is just, I am so naive just for that to happen and just to be excited for something. Like, why would I get excited and feel joy? Like, why would I think that would be a thing that I could do? That's on me. That's totally my fault.
I mean, even the Flyers, anytime, anywhere, they look like the best team in hockey. Now, all of a sudden, they're just getting mopped by the Islanders. So
yeah, this was 12 hours in Philadelphia. And this isn't even like the worst 12-hour stretch we've had in a few-week stretch. The Jalen Reagor hurts his shoulder at practice, and it was the same practice where we'll get into it, but Carson Wentz didn't play, and I have a theory on that because he was quote-unquote injured.
Again, your first-round pick, wide receiver, hurt tackling a guy. Continue.
Tackling a guy, yes. And then you had the Phillies went down 10-0 because Jake Arrieta is just Al Horford in a Phillies uniform. And then the Flyers lose and they're down 3-1. I couldn't even – that's not even top 5 worst 12-hour stretches in Philadelphia history.
No,
that really says something. And it's just like, for me, it's just my fault because I got myself into hockey. I'm a hockey guy now. You can tell because I grew my hair out.
Yep.
I'm a hockey guy, love hockey. Now they're down 3-1. I got excited. I was so hyped. I bought into Jalen Reagor. He gets hurt. Is it me? Am I the problem? Like, should I leave and move to Pittsburgh?
You could be the guy. Like, the Phillies are sort of coming back now. They're like, I think a win away from a playoff spot. Just don't even talk about them. Don't think about them. Don't watch the Phillies because as soon as you start, then they're going down. Harper's getting hurt. So you could be. It might be the red hair.
It could. I'm supposed to bring good luck, but it's some strange 2020 thing where it is completely reversed, and now I am just bad luck. I am just the kid in Luck of the Irish, but after he lost his lucky coin, and just everything goes wrong. And the only thing that hasn't happened, I haven't shrunk 2 inches yet. By the time I do this podcast next week, I'll be 5'10", and we'll have no linebackers. Darius Slay will be hurt, and Bryce Harper will be on the IL.
And you're going to be under your microphone.
I'll be down
like this. You're shit Luck of the Irish. That's your movie.
Yeah, I'm just the back half of Luck of the Irish when the kid loses his coin. That's pretty much me.
So with all seriousness, how long are they saying he is going to be out?
4 weeks, but in Philadelphia terms, that's 8 weeks, 9 weeks. Kind of depends. Okay. You know how it goes. There's never been a timetable that has worked out. So here's where we're at with it. Marquise Goodwin opted out. Alshon's obviously not going to be back to start, which we knew. And now Jalen Reagor is out for, we'll call it 4 weeks. So he'll miss the season opener and probably the week after.
So we'll see him in week 12.
Yeah, exactly. Vince, our producer, thinks we may never see him again. So that
he's never going to play a game in Philly.
He will never.
He's just done.
Just like Mark, he'll be down. We'll send him to like Tampa or Jacksonville in 3 years. So that's where we're at. So we're really back to last year. We have Deshaun, and then the same wide receiver core that we had at the end of last year that everybody was complaining about. Really, not aside from Deshaun, who they should be putting in bubble wrap tomorrow. Yes. And apparently he had a phenomenal camp. But
yeah, he's been balling out against Darius Slay too. Those two have just been calling each other out. You gotta love that kind of thing in camp.
And what people have said is it's not that Slay is bad. I mean, we'll see when we get on the field. It's just that Deshaun Jackson has been so good; he's just torching everybody. But I mean, that's where we're at. He's going to be thrown. Wentz is going to be thrown to Greg Ward, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, who I'm higher on, obviously, now that he's healthy. And
made a spectacular catch in camp, I saw.
So he's made a few. I don't know how the rest of camp is going. I mean, I've heard good things, and I know he's healthy now. So it's kind of now or never with him, even though it's only year 2. But yeah, we're kind of back to where we started, and add John Hightower to the mix, who's also having a good camp. And it's really Deshaun and the Bad News Bears again.
So are you content with that, or are you going to try and make a move for? I guess it would depend on. There's always somebody a team lets go that you're like, what? Why? Yeah, I mean, obviously we're seeing that with like Earl Thomas, but at the end of camp, I mean, where, there might be someone sitting there that you would never expect.
That is true. And that's a conversation. It's tough this year because we don't have preseason games to judge people on. So these cuts are going to be tough. And I think those veteran cuts where you're like, why would they get rid of that guy? Yep. I think it might happen less this year just because the young guys are getting screwed over. I do feel bad. They have no way of proving themselves.
No.
I mean, the Eagles played one scrimmage.
I feel like that's why so many GMs and coaches are being so much more silent, and there's so much more secrecy, because the only way other teams are going to learn about the guys in their building are if they're talking or through the media, because nobody's seeing them. So they don't want to say a thing because they don't want to be high on a guy and then they cut him. And then God forbid, Dallas cuts, let's say Cedric Wilson, the wide receiver, but you heard good things about him. And then boom, he's in Philly and he's catching 3 touchdowns against Dallas twice a year.
Exactly. Every team has guys who, with an extended practice squad, they're going to sneak them through waivers, and they are not going to say a thing, and there's no game film to go off of. All they know is what we've seen in training camp and what the media is available to, which is not even the entire practice. So, it's one of those things where, like you said, usually there's a lot of cuts. I don't know if there'll be this year, and there's going to be a lot of sneaking the younger guys onto the practice squad. But speaking of practice squad, I think, to answer your question, I don't think, even if a big name came available later in training camp after cuts, I don't think the Eagles go for it. I think they are happy with John Hightower. Okay. Deontay Burnett, who had a few big catches last year, he'll be involved as well.
Yep.
He's apparently having one of the best camps out of any receiver, to the point where they can't leave him off the roster. And he seemed to have a connection with Wentz. So I think they're just going to rock with what they have and try to just hold down the fort so they can get reinforcements.
I mean, look what Wentz did with them last year, right? Hit me against this Dallas team. I mean, they barely scored, but I mean, they put them away and they made the plays they had to make to win the division. So if there's they kind of have, Wentz has that rapport. He had no rapport with them at all. At least he has a rapport with these guys now.
I agree. And the one thing that I've also been happy with is, I forget what media member said it, but they were like, this is the least amount of drops I've seen at an Eagles training camp in a very long time. So that goes back to the connection that they're building. And I think there's also more just skill in the building this year. Like I said, Deontay Burnett, I know he's like fringe practice squad, but I mean, he's having one of the best camps, and you're like, could he make this roster? Because there's 4 or 5 guys ahead of him. And like rookie John Hightower is also having a great camp. Like I mentioned, JJ Arcega-Whiteside healthy, so that you're having these guys who seem to be coming into their own. So it's not going to come down to, okay, Carson, just go out there for 60 minutes and save us
Do
for
your thing.
16 weeks straight.
Yep. And I mean, you still
Yep.
have Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert up the middle. The safety blanket's still there. So, I mean, I don't think
Mhm.
that's too much of an issue. And let's say I'm looking at the schedule now. Let's say Rager misses the first 4 weeks. I mean, it's 4 weeks from now, so technically he could be back week 2, week 3. But let's just say he misses the first 4 weeks, right? Week 1, you got Washington. Not too much I'm scared about with their secondary. I'm scared of their pass rush, but I feel like that's that's an
I
okay
want to get into
matchup.
that.
Then you have the Rams. I mean, it's never easy going up against Jalen Ramsey, of course. He's going to take out your number one guy, but Deshaun's a dog, man. He's not going to give up easy. He's going to try and burn them all game. Then you got the Bengals. I mean, I feel like you and I could run out there and play against the Bengals secondary and catch a couple balls. And then the 49ers, and Richard Sherman's 87 years old. So, I mean, I feel like they can weather the storm without Rager. The only thing that scares me a little bit about a rookie missing that much time is, especially receivers, they don't get acclimated right away. So it's gonna now, week, let's say 5, 6, 7, 8 are really gonna be his week 1 through 4. So when is he really gonna get his legs underneath him?
Exactly. Perfect example. So last year, Miles Sanders hurt both of his hamstrings in training camp. So he really wasn't getting adequate time on the field. And then came the season. In the first 3 weeks, people forget this because he came on so strong at the end of last year after Jordan Howard got hurt.
Wasn't he like one of the best fantasy running backs in football the last like 8 weeks?
He was like top 5. I think he was top 3. And he was up there in terms of receptions too. And he was top 5. And there were games where they were like, he had an ankle injury, so they were like holding him out. Like last game, they were using both the Giants games, they were using Boston Scott. They weren't even using Sanders.
Yep.
Like those first 3 weeks, 4 weeks, Sanders was horrible.
Yep.
They benched him. They legitimately benched him.
Fumble issues, correct?
Lost.
Yep.
So that's a perfect example of a rookie coming in. He didn't have the offseason time.
Yep.
This season, it's even worse because they had no offseason until now.
Yep.
All reports were that Jalen Reagor was picking everything up and he was doing well, but we'll see. I mean, 4 weeks off the field, that's especially for somebody who's never played an actual game. He's not going to hop right back into the mix. And this is going to just be, all right, he's the next Julio Jones in week 3 against the Bengals. It's just not going to happen.
Vince, I want you to pull all of the audio from last week of him saying that Jalen Reagor is Julio Jones and then back it up with him calling himself an idiot. I want all that together.
That's fair. I'm so dumb. I went paintballing yesterday. I went paintballing for the first time.
First time?
What's that?
First time ever?
First time ever. Yeah, I've been wanting to go for a long time, but yesterday was the first time I ever went paintballing. And before we took the course, the guy he gives the stern warning. He's like, if you take your visor off, you will get hit with a paintball in the face. You could lose your eye.
Yep.
And I think you can equate that to being an Eagles fan. If you get your hopes up, you will get hit in the face with a 190-mile-an-hour paintball and die and lose your eyeball. There's no reason that you should get your hopes up. Everyone should have a stern warning before the season starts. Do not get your hopes up. It will end in harm and danger and trauma.
Except for one season.
Except for one. I think we sold our souls.
Forever. It's done. Optimism in Philly is the worst. It's kind of bad for me too. At least this is one thing we have in common. I mean, it's been Groundhog Day for me since 1996.
True.
So,
I mean, that's what makes it interesting is like we're just two crabs fighting in a sand trap.
We are so Dallas and Philly fans are much more alike than they will ever admit.
That's true. I mean,
struggles that they've been.
Yeah. Recently, we've been pretty even, which makes it even funnier.
Yep.
I just can't wait for the debates once the season starts because, we're both going to have the overreactions after a loss where the other person is going to soak it in.
I can't wait. And speaking of another thing that I feel like you may have ruined, besides Jalen Reagor, is Yannick, because you were saying Yannick was coming to Philly. I feel like
I did.
Didn't you?
I wanted him.
You wanted it. Okay. You wanted it. I thought maybe you were predicting that was probably another brander. But yeah, Yannick is out of Jacksonville, something he's been I feel like anytime he opens his mouth, that's all he's been saying is, I want out, I want out, I want out. Not even I want more money. I want out of Jacksonville.
One out of Jacksonville. Yeah. I wanted him and I was following that very closely because I knew he wanted to play for the Eagles and I knew the Eagles wanted him, but the dream is officially dead. We no longer have this pipe dream of getting Yannick on our roster. Thank God Josh Sweat had the best practice of all time. I saw one of the reporters say they're going to hang his practice jersey in the Hall of Fame.
I saw that.
So I guess we don't need Yannick. But yeah, the dream is dead. He is officially going to the Vikings.
He's a
second round
later.
pick and a conditional 5th round pick in return to the Jaguars. Dream is dead.
What do you think of that return?
The Jaguars could have got more, but they were never going to because when a player says, I'm not going to play for you, what are you going to do?
Dead in the water.
Yeah, when he's begging other teams to come sign him and he won't show up to your team, you have no power in negotiations with other teams. People in Philadelphia, we talk about the shiny toy analogy all the time.
Yep.
People really wanted him, and they're going to complain about the compensation. Say, "Oh, Howie, why didn't you give up a 2nd and a 5th round pick?
Why don't you give up everything?
Yeah, why did
you do it?
3rd, 4th, 5th, 8th? You know, it's not really the compensation; it's the contract side of it.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to money. He wanted out of Jacksonville, but their problem started when they franchise tagged him and didn't give him a long-term deal. That's when he was like, screw you guys.
Yep.
So could we offer him a long-term deal? I don't know. He didn't have a long-term extension set up. I'm sure the Vikings will be able to get it done. Our cap situation next year is not great. I've talked about it many times.
About a lot.
Yep. We're $50 million over the cap, and Howie Roseman's a wizard, but you got to think without
He's not Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly. He's not Harry Potter. He doesn't have the Elder Wand to wave a magic wand and get you 50 million under the cap. Without fans in the stands, you got to think the salary cap's going to be even lower than you'd expect. It's just the perfect storm of bad shit happening to them, where they kicked the can down the road with a lot of contracts. Now they're over the cap. They got hit with a pandemic, and all of that happened, and Yannick came up. It was just bad timing.
Yep.
They wanted Yannick. Yannick wanted to be here. It just wasn't meant to be.
Can you imagine how bad the culture must be in Jacksonville, where like Ramsey just wouldn't play, and then he had a back injury.
Yeah.
And now they're, we'll talk about Leonard Fournette getting released. And then now Yannick just wanted out. And now Jalen Ramsey is tweeting at Yannick saying, congratulations, bro. Oh, no, I think he tweeted at Yannick, and then he also tweeted at Leonard Fournette. He's like, now you're going to realize that how serious I was, that the day I left Jacksonville was the greatest day of my life. Like,
yeah.
I mean,
it's
nothing about Jacksonville in general appeals to me. Like it's like Tallahassee too in Florida. Like I don't want to be in that like panhandle up top area. I want to be down south. Like
yeah.
So yeah, it's like no man's land. It's like Alabama with palm trees.
Pretty much, it's just like Floribama, Florida Georgia line.
Yeah.
Not the place you want to be in Florida if you want to be in Florida at all.
No.
And we'll get, like you said, we'll get into with Leonard Fournette here in a second. But culture, I have a take on the culture. I'm just like, I'm out. Everybody's out on Jacksonville, but I'll get into it with Leonard Fournette. But on Yannick, like I said, it's the contract. It's not the draft picks. I would have loved to have them. It's kind of like, I think we've all been there, like when we were in school, where you had a crush on somebody, and you had a crush, but you never acted on it. Like you never made an attempt.
You looked from afar, and you kind of you smiled every once in a while, but you never did anything beyond that.
You never did anything beyond a nice smile and maybe a wave if you saw them in the hallway or saw them in class, and you had this crush forever.
Maybe you had the note written out, but you never passed the note.
You never shot your shot.
Yep, ever.
And then all of a sudden you get on Instagram and she posts a picture with her new boyfriend. And you're like, how could she do this to me where she's with this other person now after all the 0 attempts I've made? That's
like, didn't she know?
Yeah. How could you do this to me? But that's how the Eagles handled the Yannick situation.
That's exactly how.
They wanted him from afar, never acted on it. And now he has a new boyfriend, Kirk Cousins.
Is Minnesota the team that none of us want to admit may be pretty good this year?
You know what? It's a prove it league.
Like,
And
I feel like this is the perfect year for Kirk Cousins because there's basically no fans.
is there a perfect year for Kirk Cousins?
Well, never, but I mean, at least he doesn't, if those Sunday night or Monday night games, if he's playing somewhere with no fans, I mean, he folds under those fan pressure.
It's true, but he folds at home too. That's the thing.
True.
Even when he's at home,
He doesn't have to deal with that. He doesn't have to deal. Maybe this scares him. Who knows?
Whole thing scares him. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, dude, it's a talent thing with him. He's not as bad as people think because he's a dork, but he's just not that good. If you're think about this, so there's like an upper tier where you would say like the Saints, the Bucks, and maybe the 49ers, but they have a lot of injuries. They're in this upper tier.
Mm-hmm.
Could you see Minnesota going?
I would put Seattle up there too.
That's the team I was about to use. Without the 12th man, if they went into Seattle and there were no fans in the 12th man, could you still see Kirk Cousins winning a game, even
not
with
against that team?
Adding Yannick? Because I can't.
Especially not against that secondary that Seattle's at. I mean, I just remember today. I mean, they traded for Quandre Diggs last year, who's a stud from Detroit, and now he's next to Jamal Adams.
Yeah, they're loaded, and in a situation, it could be one fan, it could be 65,000. Take Russell Wilson over Kirk Cousins 100 times out of 100.
Twice on Sunday.
I mean, it was a great move by the Vikings to get Yannick and the price they got him at. Do I think they're a Super Bowl contender? No. Given how I've given predictions these past few weeks, congratulations on making the Super Bowl in 2021. Enjoy the trophy, Minnesota. You don't deserve it. You have the worst fans ever, but I'm glad I could help.
Go Birds!
The greatest viral video of all time.
Ever.
I hope
I
we can
hate
get
them,
that
but I
kid
love
on the podcast at some point.
All right. Another player is out of Jacksonville, out of Duval. Leonard Fournette, the former number 5 overall pick, I believe, is a free agent. Number 4, excuse me.
That makes it worse, but yeah.
Makes it even worse. So he is a free agent. He is gone. I mean, hasn't been the same guy lately anyway, but your thoughts?
Well, let's get into the Jacksonville culture thing.
Here we go. I'm ready for it.
2 ways. We'll start with the culture first and then maybe some landing spots for Leonard. But to me, as a Sixers fan, I'm never against a total tear down and rebuild. That's my favorite game to play.
Absolutely.
But with Jacksonville, I don't even see it. Like, they're not even going through a process. It's just a tear down with no help to rebuild.
I mean, that's because they're going to England. So
that's what I was thinking, and that's what's going to piss me off is that they have no organizational structure. They have terrible culture. Nobody wants to play there. So now fans, when we have fans, won't show up. They won't pay attention, and they will just basically dive bomb themselves into London. And then every team's going to have to travel 7 hours just to go play the fucking Jaguars in England. That's going to piss me off when it happens, but it's seemingly inevitable. But
they're probably going to change their name to something stupid like the Teacups.
Yeah, they won't be the Jaguars.
The British Teacups. Welcome to the stadium.
London FC.
Yeah.
London Football Club.
Yeah. Oh God.
Washington football team versus London Football Club.
Oh God. No. Shoot me.
Not a chance. Like
you'll
ruin the NFL.
Can get me into that game.
Nothing. No, I don't care if they play at 9 a.m. and there's no other game on but that one. I will just sleep in and probably be hungover and wouldn't be able to make it anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, they're doing a teardown without the rebuild. I don't get the plan. It doesn't seem like they have a plan. It seems like they're cutting ties with all above average talent, and that talent doesn't want to be there, and they're not getting anything in return. They released Leonard Fournette, and Doug Marrone said we couldn't even get like a 5th or 6th round pick back for him. They wanted a 1st round pick for Yannick. They got a 2nd and a 5th. I mean, I know they got 2 1st round picks back for Jalen, but it just seems like they're cutting talent and going nowhere.
Right. Yep.
They traded Foles. They gave Foles $85 million, and then got a conditional 4th for him.
And now he's going to go start for the Bears.
Barely over Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
There's still people in this stupid fan base. There's a very loud 5% who still think that Nick Foles is better than Carson Wentz, while Foles is in a fucking controversy with Mitchell Trubisky of all people.
Like, and he couldn't beat out Gardner Minshew.
Exactly. Yeah. Rookie 6th round pick.
Yeah.
God bless those people.
So I believe they have 8 picks in the first 3 rounds in this upcoming draft. And I did see an article that I kind of chuckled at. Maybe this is what they are doing. I mean, I wouldn't put it past Jacksonville, but they were saying maybe the plan is that they're going to fire Doug Marrone after this season, which probably.
That's not his fault.
No, not his fault at all. They're going to lure Dabo Swinney from Clemson to coach, and they're going to draft Trevor Lawrence.
Clemson might be more talented than Jacksonville. That might be a downgrade for Dabo if he left.
But he may just want to ride that career out with his boy. I mean, I don't see it whatsoever. Dabo, I feel like, is a college guy, and he's waiting for the Alabama job anyway. If he's going anywhere, it's Alabama.
Yep. I think it might be a pay cut for him to go from Clemson to Jacksonville, and it might be a talent cut as well.
I mean, you see Dabo Swinney living in London?
No, that guy will never live anywhere but the South in his entire life.
Completely.
Vince is bringing up an image here, and it's basically all of the former first round picks and talented players for the Jaguars, and the amount of talent they've amassed and then gotten rid of and never replaced is staggering. And they haven't hit on their picks, so now they're doing this rebuild without many picks. And this is just from last year alone. Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Fournette, Jynx on there. AJ Bouye, I think, is on there as well. Calais Campbell.
You know who's a guy I would love to hang out with is Calais Campbell. He sounds like a cartoon monster. I just want to eat some cookies. And I feel like he'd just be a fun guy to hang out with.
He seems like a lot of fun. He does seem like a lot of fun. He's in Baltimore now, right?
Yeah. Think about that. Another Baltimore Ravens under the radar move that a phenomenal organization makes. Bringing in a guy like Calais Campbell to that defense, who doesn't have to be the guy. That's why they are who they are.
I was just about to say it's a classic case of good team versus bad team. The Jaguars hand out an overpriced contract to the guy. It doesn't work out, so he gets traded to Baltimore, where for basically nothing, a late round pick, and then he's thriving in their system. It's just it's not like baseball where the higher market teams have more money, so they can spend more and they win more. Everything's supposed to be even in the NFL, but there's just bad teams. There's just bad teams, and there's no way around it. And Jacksonville is that team.
There's bad teams, there's bad owners, there's bad management. And it just, you look at some of these guys like Daniel Snyder and the Jets ownership, they're just and Jacksonville, they're just so bad. Like
in Cleveland.
Yeah, in Cleveland, it's like, it just blows my mind that I feel like if you're that bad, you should be able to be like voted out by the city. Be like, all right, no, it's time. You now need to sell the team. You're out.
I 1 million, 2 million, 3 billion% agree, because if the city could vote an owner out, Josh Harris would be on fucking Mars tomorrow. The Sixers ownership would be out of here, and they would never come back.
I feel like
the hell out of here and never come back.
An owner that owns a Philadelphia basketball team should not be allowed to also own a New Jersey hockey team.
Yes, and he owns the Devils, and they are a shit show as well. Everyone complains about the culture there. But it's just a perfect example going back to the NFL teams. Culture starts at the top.
Yep.
If you don't have good decision makers and you don't have leadership up in the front offices, it's never going to trickle down and benefit you. Doug Marrone's not a bad coach. There wasn't bad talent on the Jaguars, but instead they brought Tom Coughlin in. He wasn't a good decision maker. They've whiffed on a lot of picks with the GM, and it is what it is. Here you are. It starts at the top. And it's like that for all these teams. It's the reason the Browns have a different GM every year. And every year they're right back at the top of the draft and they suck. It's just how it goes.
All right. Well, from one brand new free agent in Leonard Fournette to one guy who has been a free agent for, I think, longer than he should have been. It took until August 31st, but Logan Ryan is no longer a free agent. He's coming back home to the New York Giants. He's coming to the NFC East.
Can I be totally blunt?
You don't care?
I don't give a single fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
that is going to come back to bite me. I can't wait till
we go.
Daniel Jones in 23-20 and he picks off Wentz at the end of the game.
It's going to be a pick six, book this, Vince. Pick 6 from Wentz to Logan Ryan for the Giants to win. It's coming.
Hey, as long as Reagor makes the tackle this time, it
Yeah.
doesn't dislocate his shoulder. Yeah, but it's a good get for the Giants, but they have so many positions where you look at it and you're like, could this team go 6-10 with this position group? Like, look at their offensive line.
Yep.
Could they keep Saquon and Daniel Jones healthy for 16 games? Probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, and just like health-wise at the wide receiver position, Sterling Shepard missed a lot of time. Golden Tate missed time. Well, he was kind of suspended too. Evan Ingram at tight end. It's like, congrats, but it's just a little trickle to me. I don't know how you feel. Go for it.
Same thing. If he signed with Dallas, I would be interested. I would have been happy, but same kind of thing. I mean, if he went to the Eagles, I would have been upset. I wouldn't have been happy, but he goes to the Giants.
Yep. And you know what? We probably wouldn't even talk about it if it wasn't an NFC East opponent and he could have an influence on our two teams.
No.
If he signs with the Raiders, it probably doesn't even make a single wavelength, but we'll see. It is a good get for them because it's good value, and it seems like it's a place he wants to be, so he could thrive there. But yeah, aside from that, don't care.
Okay. So from one secondary player that we don't care about to one that is one of the youngest and best in the league, and Derwin James is hurt again. And I kind of breaks my heart. This is a guy I've been following since his college days because he was a shiny new toy that I really wanted in Dallas, and he was falling in the draft, and it almost fell to Dallas. And they got Leighton Vander Esch instead. I'm not too upset about that, but Derwin James was my pet cat. I really wanted him. I thought he would have been perfect for the secondary, but he's hurt again, significant knee injury, needs surgery, out at least 6 to 8 weeks.
That is, the Chargers are always right there, and it just seems like they can't get over the hump.
Yep.
And you know what? In that, you need every bullet in the chamber if you're going to be in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, and if you're going to have to play Pat Mahomes twice a year. And I do feel bad. I love rovers. Mm-hmm. I love guys who can play multiple positions and are basically positionless and can run all over the defense and make plays everywhere, like James is. But it's just another tough break for a team that hasn't gotten many breaks lately. And like I said, I think that division's going to be pretty good. I think the Broncos are going to catch on. I think they're going to be all right. And then with the Chiefs, that's just rough. That's really rough.
Look at that.
So Chargers injuries to start the season. Mike Williams, so he was a rookie. He was out 5 weeks.
Yep.
Joey Bosa out 10 in 2018, young player. Derwin James last year. And Russell Okung, and they had a ton of problems protecting Phillip Rivers. Yep. And then this year, they're dealing with Derwin James again.
And Mike Williams again.
That is a tough way to go. Sometimes
it's like Philadelphia West.
Yeah, honestly, pretty much. Sometimes you're a bad drafter. Like the Jaguars are just bad drafters.
Yep.
I mean, Jalen Ramsey was good, but aside from that, but sometimes you just have shit luck.
Yep.
I'd say the Chargers have drafted pretty well. Getting Bosa, Derwin James, especially the value at the positions, like draft position wise, where they got them. Mm-hmm. And Justin Herbert looks like he could be pretty good. It sucks, man.
Shit luck is for sure. I mean, they got moved to a city that none of them wanted to go to.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you want to be second fiddle to the Rams playing in the same stadium? No one in LA cares about the Chargers.
It's sad because it's a good thing there's no fans because the fans always take over their home games. I get the move in theory. LA is the second biggest market in the country.
Oh, I'm an owner. I get the move. 100%.
Yeah. So let's put two teams there, like in New York. I get that far. But San Diego followed this team, and it's a market that doesn't care about his football as much as an East Coast market would.
Yep.
So now you've got two teams, and they barely care about one.
Is this a spot for Earl Thomas since Derwin James is out? I don't really think so.
It's tough. You know what? When you're starting a young quarterback, it goes back to the conversation I asked you last week.
Yep.
Veteran leadership.
Yep.
They're going to be starting a rookie. They might give Tyrod Taylor the first few weeks like they did back when he was with Baker Mayfield.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be Herbert's team. They're going to have a young quarterback. They're going to need leadership. Is Earl Thomas the guy? I don't know.
I feel like they're going younger and younger too with the Chargers. Obviously, they cut ties with Philip Rivers this year. Just doesn't seem like a fit to me.
No.
Everybody said Brady was linked to them. He wanted to go out to California, LA to be a perfect spot. That kind of was poo-pooed right away. I feel like the older veteran end of the career type guys, they're not in on right now.
No, I don't think so. It's they are a second fiddle, and I don't see them getting out of that position. And it is what it is. So, oh well.
It is what it is kind of what Alvin Kamara is telling the Saints right now, too. He's been absent from camp for 3 straight days. Apparently, it has to do with his contract. So, this also, to me, meh. Like, he's going to play.
Yeah. All I have, maybe, and all I have to say about it is I'm glad he did it before my fantasy football draft instead of afterwards.
Me too.
If I would have had it last weekend, drafted him yesterday, and then he came out that he's been sitting out as a previous Le'Veon Bell owner, I would have been pissed. But, oh well. I mean,
I got to tell you, I don't love Kamara in fantasy. I had him when he was there with what's his name?
Mark Ingram.
And I had both of them, and I won the championship with both of them, and because they balled out. But then he became the feature back, and I don't know,
he was hurt a lot last year.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I will say though, going back to the Jaguars thing and just them being, I can't believe I'm spending this much time on the Jaguars, but it's an NFL thing. They took a top 5 pick. They took a running back, which taking running back top 5 is risky as it is. They took a running back who can't catch out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a dual threat at the running back position in today's day and age. It's like playing basketball and not being able to shoot a 3, or playing baseball and not having power these days. And like taking a running back in the top 10 is iffy. It's sketchy. It's really risky, but you can do it with a guy like Christian McCaffrey because at times he's also the best receiver on the field for the Panthers.
Yep.
They took you can't take a power running back in the top 5. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Dumb teams do dumb things. They are almost as dumb as me for believing in Jalen Reagor.
All right, I'm going to leave Alvin Kamara here then, and this is the perfect segue into my next question for the both of us, and it uses that top 5 power back in Leonard Fournette that we were talking about. So right now, left on the board of free agents, there's kind of 4. I mean, there's a lot of guys still out there, but there's 4 kind of the big names that are still out there: Earl Thomas, Jadeveon Clowney, Leonard Fournette now, and Devonta Freeman. So I'm going to ask you, out of those 4, okay, week 1, which is less than 2 weeks away, which of those guys are on a team? Which of those guys are still on the street?
Clowney's on a team.
Okay.
That might be it. I really think that might be it. Running backs are not valued. They can be inexpensive to find. The Eagles are going to pay Corey Clement $800,000 this year.
Yep.
And they're going to pay Boston Scott a little over 1, I think. And he could be less than 1. We might have to look it up. They're inexpensive. There's no point in giving Vince, our producer, is a big Corey Clement guy. But yeah, so Freeman, his asking price is too high.
Yep.
He's not going to get it. Leonard Fournette, we just talked about. What money would you give him? I just don't think I just don't think either of those guys would be there. And I've said my piece on Earl Thomas already too.
Okay, now before I go into mine, do you give me 1 or 2 suitors that you could see for Leonard Fournette? Team that you feel like would make sense at the right price?
That is a good question. I'm trying to think of who isn't deep. Hilariously, I want to say the Texans, because I don't know how sold you would be on David Johnson after these past few years.
God, I used to love him, man.
Yeah, speaking of fantasy, he was a great option.
Won another championship with him.
Yeah. So I would put the Texans there just because I don't know how sold you could be on David Johnson. Trying to think where else though. I don't know. Maybe the Jets. They've had running back issues, and I know Adam Gase doesn't like Le'Veon Bell, which obviously like he's made it known that he doesn't
Yep.
like running back, which is insane to just come out
Unbelievable.
publicly and say that. But maybe Fournette is the backup there. That's the only two places I can really think of off the top of my head.
I was fearful of Philadelphia a little bit. Maybe he could be the next LeGarrette Blount for them, but I don't really think so.
Mm.
I could maybe see Tampa for the right price. I could see, they have what they have, but he wouldn't have to be the feature back.
Yeah.
Maybe he could end games, help Brady out in the fourth quarter, just pound. But I don't know. There's no team is screaming out to me that they're going to be running the hill to go get Leonard Fournette.
No, like I said, you got to be versatile in today's day and age.
And he's had red flags since LSU. Like he would play games and he didn't play a game. Like,
yeah. And the other thing, I read this today and I didn't know it because I don't watch a lot of Jaguars games, obviously. He's statistically one of the worst pass blockers in the league too at running back position. So
for such a big dude,
you're in a day and age where you have to catch it out of the backfield. He can't, and you can't block either. So what good are you to a team aside from that role that you said? He can pound the ball in the fourth quarter for a team that has a lead.
That's about it. Yeah. So I'm gonna go Clowney and possibly Earl. I'm still holding out hope, maybe, because I'm going to talk about the Cowboys secondary again at the end of the show. It doesn't sound like it's happening, but I don't know. We're less than 2 weeks out. I could see maybe all 4 of them not.
I think, I kind of cheated giving a free promo to another podcast, Inside the Birds, today. Adam Kaplan was like, I would be shocked if Clowney wasn't on a team within the week.
Okay.
He has a few more connections than we have. So I don't know if he was just saying that out of opinion or he was saying that out of someone who has phone numbers of people who are in NFL offices.
Probably.
So we'll see on him. I think there's some places that he can end up. We'll see on that one.
All right. Well, Clowney could be the only one. And the last thing that I'm going to get into here around the NFL, we don't even really have to say anything about it, but Andy Reid gets a new 6-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. He is going to die on the sideline. That's all I got to say about that.
I love that guy. I know that in Philly, the time came to an end without a Super Bowl, but I was happy to see him win. Good for him, and keep on going. If he died on the sideline, he'll die doing what he loves.
Good for him. And we just made it through a full around the NFL on Birds vs. Boys without talking about coronavirus. I feel like it's just a new day. There's fresh air I'm breathing. It's different.
And you know what? I didn't even think about it. So you said that. I didn't even think about it. I was so fired up about the Reagor thing and Yannick and everything like that.
Football. We have just football.
Exactly. Actual football. And I know we have to talk about injuries, but that's because boys are actually strapping on the pads and getting out there now. So that's just going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And once those games start, you got to bet with Bovada.
Got to bet with Bovada. I was literally thinking about them. Don't even need the ad read. Don't even need it. I was thinking about them yesterday because I had Fox on, or actually it was Saturday. I had Fox on. I'm watching the Phillies game, and it pops up NFL Game of the Week. Buccaneers Saints 425. And I thought to myself, I can't wait to have that feeling back. Eagles game is over. How do I entertain myself? I bet on big football games that are on TV. So I bet with Bovada. I can't wait. It's going to be 4:00. I'm going to put my bets in for that game. It's probably going to be overs. Tom Brady over 2.5 touchdowns. He's having 4. I cannot wait. So I talked about it last week. Now is the perfect time. You've got 4 sports in action. Even you've got the Kentucky Derby this week. You've got golf this week. You have
You have the U.S. Open with tennis right now.
Yes. Every sport you can imagine is going on right now. Bet with Bovada, as always. We put the link in the podcast description. We will have it on our promotional tweets, on the Instagram page, and then with YouTube as well. Everywhere that you can find it, we will have the link for you. Now is the perfect time to log in and sign up with Bovada.
Bet with Bovada. All right. It's time for the segment that the show is named after. Birds vs. Boys. We are obviously a podcast for everyone, all NFL fans. If you couldn't tell, we just did Around the NFL. We talked way more Jaguars than we ever will again. But now we are going to talk about the 2 teams we love and hate. The Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So let's start in the city of brotherly love, what is going on with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Not a lot
Besides
of
Jalen Reagor.
yeah. So another injury being overlooked now that Reagor got hurt is our other first round pick. The season before, Andre Dillard tore his bicep. Obviously, now there is a hole at left tackle. That is Jason Peters' previous position. So I think there is a lot of debate going on in the city. There's debate going on between him and the Eagles, and I think it could lead into a good debate for us.
Okay.
So I'll just set the table for what's going on. I know you're probably more plugged into Cowboys camp, but you probably have an idea of what's going on.
Absolutely.
So Peter signed to play guard, obviously, and
After your Pro Bowl, maybe the best guard in the league went down also.
only the fucking Eagles could have 3 injured starters in an offseason that didn't even exist. They've put on the helmets and pads and played 1 fucking scrimmage and have 3 starters out week 1. 4 if you include Alshon. It is unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
But so off of those injuries, Andre Dillard is out for the year. They need a tackle. Jason Peters says, if you want me to go back to tackle, you have to pay me more. The Eagles are like, no, sorry. So that's they are at a stalemate. And who has the leverage in this situation? Is it Peters moving from guard to tackle, or is it the Eagles who signed him as a guard and said, this is what it is? I will let you go first. I set the table, so go ahead and let me know what you think.
Who has the leverage? I would probably say the Eagles. I mean, can Jason Peters just say, I'm not going to play now at tackle and I'm just like, see ya? Probably not.
Probably not. Yeah. Which leads into being, like you said, the leverage would go the Eagles' way. So how do you feel? Who do you think is in the right?
Pay him all the money. Pay him all the money.
Who do you think is in the right?
Pay him all the money.
Okay.
I want them to pay him all the money. I mean, he is Mr. False Start. He is Mr. on the sideline injury, and I want them to pay him all of the money. If you expect a guy that you signed to play guard and reinvent his career, now all of a sudden he's been working his butt off all off season, right? To now learn the little bit in the box, right? Right here. I'm not all the way out here. I'm right here in my box. He's learned guard. He is going to be a phenomenal guard. He's still going to false start and he's still going to be on the sideline injured, but he's going to be a great guard. And now all of a sudden you expect to bump him back and bring the brain back to what he used to do. You need to pay him the money.
No. And for 2 reasons. I have a serious one and I have a funny one. So okay. The producer here behind the scenes, Vince, who does a great job for us, he and I have had this running joke literally since I've known Vince, which is 3 years ago, and we're still having the same running joke, is that Jason Peters, you just brought it up. You just mentioned it. Who's always on the sideline during the games because they're hurt? Jason Peters.
He is like game, he's like on the ground, and there has to be like 9 guys that come just lift him up, and then he's on the sideline.
Yep, it happens once a game, and seemingly every week he's out on the sideline. So the analogy that we've had and the running joke that we've had, he's pretty much like the family dog who's at the end of the road.
Yep.
Everybody knows he's at the end of the road, and he's going to the quote unquote farm in the country pretty soon. And you know it's coming. It's going to happen. Vince is pulling up a tweet right now. Jason Peters jumps off sides, fans groan. That's just like it happens all the time.
And on big downs too.
Yep. But so here's the thing. Like I said, so Jason Peters, he's the family dog. He's going up to the farm soon. The time has come. That was 3 years ago that we started using that analogy. We're at the point they've taken him to the farm, which is really the vet. The vet has injected him. The Eagles have taken him off the table at the vet, pulled him back, took him home, stuffed him, and then say play left tackle. That's where he's at. Like, this is ridiculous.
It's like
ridiculous.
It's like they had the like, you know, when it's very sad, but you euthanize a dog. It's like they had like the needle in his arm and he was slowly like trying to fall asleep. And then the mother came in and was like, no, you can't do it, and pulled the needle out and then brought the dog back. Yep. And now the dog's at home, just like can't even walk. And it's like, it can't see and it's running into the wall. And it's very sad. But that is what Jason Peters is.
He can't use his back legs. He's got kidney failure. He runs into the wall. He false starts every time.
He pees on every step. He makes it up 2 steps and then falls back down, so he can't even go upstairs anymore.
It's ridiculous. That is the analogy that sums up the Jason Peters experience at left tackle at this point. He is just a family dog who needs to be put down, and then they put him down, and then they brought him back and stuffed him and said, "Hey, you should play left tackle."
So do you think he should play left tackle, or who do you want out there with Dillard out?
I think it is either going to be Matt Pryor, which I don't really get because he played guard and then he played right tackle. And
Isn't he a kicker?
Matt Pryor?
No,
I mean,
Matt Prater.
Oh yeah, Matt Pryor. I totally forgot about him. I think he actually hit a 60. He hit some crazy field goal against the Eagles once.
Yeah.
I don't, for some reason it was Pryor in the scrimmage, even though he's out of position.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Jordan Mailata, who has been this project, who never played football, and he was just this Australian rugby beast.
Yep.
And then they've got Jack. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Jack Driscoll, who is the rookie from Auburn, who really plays guard. So that's where Jason Peters' leverage comes in.
Mm-hmm.
But I still
the
even
experience.
at that point, yeah, they don't have the experience. But even then, I'll be honest, I don't think that Peters should get a raise.
Pay him all the money.
I'm against you on that one. I think here's my thing.
Michael Orr.
Yeah. So I think here's my thing with Peters. Your agent screwed this up, not the Eagles. Here's why. We just did a whole funny segment. Oh, how hilarious it is that Jason Peters is off on the sideline all the time. Injuries are always an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Andre Dillard getting hurt was always a possibility. Jason Peters should know that himself since he's injured every week. And there was nobody in that organization that would give a ringing endorsement for Andre Dillard as it was when he was healthy. The media would go to practice. You couldn't get one single person to give a rave review. Everybody was kind of iffy on if Dillard could play even when he was healthy. The possibility was always there for Peters to have to shift back over for tackle, whether it was because Dillard had to be out or because he just flat out sucked.
Yep.
Why did your agent not have something in the original deal that says if you get bumped over and you play a percentage of your snaps, whatever percentage it is, at tackle, you get a bonus? And Howie Roseman structures all his deals that way because it's a loophole in the NFL salary cap system where we'll pay you. And Jason Peters makes his base salary that counts against the cap is $1.8 million. He could make $6 million this year just off of bonuses and shit. Why did your agent not have something in the original contract that says if the Eagles bump me over to tackle and I play 75% of my snaps at tackle, Jason Peters, make $3 million more?
Yep.
Why did the agent not think of this? This was almost inevitable. You were at some point going to have to play tackle. That is on the agent. That is not on the Eagles.
I couldn't agree with you more on this one. That's on the agent completely. It's a little bit on Jason Peters because why wouldn't you suggest that? And he agreed to the deal. This kind of also brings me back to, do you remember how Brian Baldinger and his pinky got the entire city of Philadelphia excited, saying there was a huge move coming?
Yeah,
and again, everyone bought in and everyone thought the shiny toy was coming. And then it was Jason Peters again.
Yep. That was one of my favorite moments of the offseason is like I said, I think I said it on the show. I've said it a few times. For Brian Baldinger, that's a huge move because it's an offensive lineman. So to him, this was a crazy. That was the shiny toy. But for us, we were like, oh, okay, glad to have you back.
That's all the fans were like the kids at home, and you see mom coming back with the dog, and you're like, I thought the dog was going to the farm.
Yeah, I thought it was going to our uncles that we've never met at the farm upstate. Why is the dog back?
And
why can't he see?
Why is he walking into the wall?
That's where they're at with it. I mean, that's all I have to say on Jason Peters, though. That's my stance. Look, if you want more money, then fire your agent because he did a shit job for you, and you should have known that, especially Jason Peters, because you spent half the season on the sideline anyway, so you knew the same thing could happen to Andre Dillard, and it did.
You're an idiot.
It is what it is.
Is that all you got?
Yeah, that's all I got on the Eagles. We're through our injuries. Oh, one more thing. My conspiracy theory.
Here we go.
And this ties into Jason Peters and the offensive line. So Carson Wentz did not play in the scrimmage yesterday. They said he has a minor soft tissue injury. That is a lie. That is a farce. That offensive line was bad. They
Yep.
knew it was going to be bad. They didn't even know who was going to play left tackle. So they sat Carson Wentz out because the last thing they wanted was him getting actually injured in a scrimmage
by Josh Sweat.
Because Josh Sweat was killing the Eagles' offensive line.
Yep.
That injury is a farce. Once again, I will eat my words, but that is not one that I'm worried about. The thing that worries me is that they didn't even want to put him out there because they thought they couldn't put him in back of that offensive line.
I apologize, Eagle fans, that Jalen Hurts will now be your starter for all season.
God,
Carson Wentz is now injured and done for the year.
My mental health cannot take it. I can't even think about that. Let's go to the Cowboys. What do you got?
So, first things first, let's talk about the secondary, the safeties, which I feel like I'm talking about constantly because it's kind of the biggest position battle group going on. So first, Xavier Woods, who is definitely slotted in there as one of their starters at safety, hurt his groin. So he's got a groin injury, but it's not significant. But that's people saying it's not significant who's not your groin. I feel like if it's your groin, it's significant. Even if it's not significant, it's significant. So ouch is the perfect analogy. They're saying he should be good to go by week 1. But again, he's third year in. You need these guys getting as many reps as you can. So that scares me a little bit. And they are saying still Mike McCarthy is oohing and eyeing over Darian Thompson. What a great camp he's having. What a studier of film he is. How hard he works. Ha Ha Clinton-Dix isn't going to make this team, I don't think.
Really?
It's sounding like he may not make this team. You and I, week 1, were saying, I love this pick. It's a great pick. Played great for the Bears last year. Veteran move. Now, I think Darian frickin' Thompson is going to be starting for the Dallas Cowboys at safety, and it scares the living shit out of me. So, is it time to bite the bullet and sign Earl? I don't know, but it just doesn't. I mean, I feel like Jerry Jones is like, we need Earl Thomas. He's a Texan. And then Stephen Jones is Jerry Jones is the family dog. Okay. He's Jason Peters. Okay. He is walking the walls. He's drooling all over himself. And Stephen Jones is the owner of the dog that just feels bad and just kind of like gives him a treat every 2 minutes just to shut the dog up. And the dog sits there and just eats it. And I don't think Stephen wants Earl Thomas. So I don't think it's going to happen.
It does. I can definitely see that happening where it's McCarthy probably saying no. That's a guy who's been in battles with guys with egos before, like Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And I'm not anti Aaron Rodgers, but obviously a bit of an ego there. And then probably Stephen Jones being the voice of reason, and then like Jerry Jones, who wanted to draft Johnny Manziel, being like, "We got to do it. We got to do it." Do you think they get to that point though, like where camp keeps going, and you're like, well, we have to take the risk because the talent level isn't there. And
apparently the talent level is there. That's what they're telling us.
I guess, I mean, I can't talk because people are talking me in the JJ Arcega-White side. So I can't really argue with you on whether Darren Thompson is the future in that. But
I mean, you have talked me into being fearful of Earl Thomas with the brain. That does scare me. So, and the leadership factor, because they do have a young team. But I mean, Earl's the best player out there. Go get the best player if you want to win the ball games, if you want to win a championship. But I guess we'll see what happens with that. The Dallas wide receivers continue to ball. They had their scrimmage. I don't know if you saw that. They had the blue and white scrimmage this weekend. Kind of weird. They didn't have any numbers. The defense wore blue, the offense wore white, and then the players started writing their numbers in Sharpie on the jerseys. Cedric Wilson actually had a question mark on the back of his jersey.
Was there a reason?
I don't know. It's one of those Mike McCarthy things. We're a team. We're not a player, and it doesn't matter who's out there. We're all Cowboys, and you got to make plays. So, like Dak, just throw it to the open guy type thing. Don't look, and there's 88. I gotta force it to him.
Just play the fucking game. You know,
Just
just
scrimmage.
like who cares? Like he's gonna mix up Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, who's
Yeah.
6'3" with dreads. Like
Yeah,
he knows who he's throwing to. It
exactly.
just what's that supposed to be, like some college bullshit where they don't put the names on the back of the jerseys like Notre Dame and Penn State because
Yep.
in 1934 they didn't do it, so now they're
Yep.
not doing it in 2020. Give me a
Exactly.
break. Just
Yep.
play the game.
Exactly.
You know, Jesus.
And I have one last conspiracy theory. I feel like you had a conspiracy theory, so I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory out there.
I love conspiracy theories, so please hit me.
I think you're going to love this one, actually.
Okay.
I feel like Mike McCarthy feels like he can win with, wants to win with, and kind of loves Andy Dalton.
Yes.
And I feel like he thinks he can win a championship with this team if he had the resources that are going to be allocated for $40 million a year for Dak with a cheaper Andy Dalton and resource being allocated other places. And it keeps coming out that secretly Dak has not looked good in camp and Andy Dalton has looked phenomenal. So my conspiracy theory is that they want Andy Dalton to be the guy eventually. I don't.
Oh my God. You know what it is? Here's what it is. You know what backup quarterbacks do after they're done playing? They become coaches.
Yes.
You know how they're synced. Mike McCarthy and Andy Dalton are synced because Dalton's going to become a quarterback's coach once he's done.
Do you know who our offensive coordinator is?
Kellen Moore, who was a backup quarterback. You know what Doug Peterson was? A backup quarterback.
You know what
who's
Jason
gonna be on our
Garrett
coaching
was?
staff? Josh McCown, backup quarterback.
Jason Garrett, backup quarterback
Was he really?
for the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh my God.
And the New York Giants.
Wow. See, that's what I'm saying. Backup quarterbacks just because you know what? They don't have the talent to be starters, but they do have the brain to be good football players. But they're never going to lead you on a Super Bowl run because they probably don't have the arm strength or the accuracy or something like that.
They're like
but
catchers.
In the film room, they're always there.
Catchers in baseball, they always become managers.
Exactly. That is a great comparison. That is what it is. Those two are on the same wavelength, so that you always get coaches talking themselves into backup quarterbacks. There's no other reason for John Gruden to talk himself into Nathan Peterman, aside that he's a backup quarterback who understands the game. It's the same here. Dalton understands the game, so they're going to talk themselves into Dalton, and please do. I honestly, that would be hilarious.
Can't wait till Marcus Mariota is the starter for the Raiders in week 3.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen this year. Maybe, like we said, Dak gets hurt and Andy wins 3 or 4 games. And then at the end of the season, do we franchise Dak? Do we pay him $40 million a year? Or here's Andy Dalton, who will sign a 3-year contract for $42 million.
I just want you to be in that position. Like I said, I don't want anyone to get injured, but if I could see a situation where Dak got injured, Andy Dalton plays 3 games, they go 3-0, and then all of a sudden there's a quarterback controversy. And as a fan base who had to listen to all of the shit about, Foles versus Wentz and everybody poking fun at us for having 2 good quarterbacks as if that was a bad thing. I can't wait for you to be in a position where you have 2 above average quarterbacks battling it out to go 10-6 or 9-7.
Imagine Andy Dalton goes on the Foles run and wins Andy Dalton breaks the curse and wins the Dallas Cowboys the Super Bowl.
I somehow would be less mad. I don't know if it's because he's a redhead and I am too, if he won, but that would somehow make me less mad and less upset if you guys won a Super Bowl with Andy Dalton.
That's all I got.
I can see it happening. Oh,
I would love it. I think I would dye my hair red for the offseason.
I think you have to. Vince, please get this. If Dak gets injured, and Andy Dalton comes in the first game that he wins, I would like this clipped of KMS just saying that he is going to dye his hair red. Please.
I am on the red rifle train.
All right. Do we got anything else tonight?
I mean, that's it. We're going to be dropping this on Tuesday. Probably right before we drop it, Jadeveon Clowney's going to sign somewhere. So you'll be listening to this all about Clowney and where he's going to go. And he's probably already somewhere else.
Can I drop my prediction real quick? I forgot to mention it during the show. Raiders. I think Clowney to the Raiders.
Yeah, I could see him being a Raider.
I could Definitely see Gruden talking himself into it and talking Mike Mayock into it. I believe that they have some cap space to get it done. It'll be hilarious because they could have just kept Khalil Mack and had a solid defensive lineman, but we're here, so can't go back. So my prediction is Raiders in case that happens while we're after our show.
I can't wait till it's February. Yep, this is actually what I was gonna say. Andy Dalton wins a shootout against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and then Aldon Smith at the end of the game comes off the edge and strip sacks Patrick Mahomes to win the Super Bowl. Andy Dalton and Aldon Smith win the Super Bowl for the Cowboys.
Can't wait. I'm really looking forward to that one.
We will see you next week. I am KMess22 on Twitter. We are powered by Branded Sports. As always, Branded_sports on Twitter, thebrandedsports.com. We are also having a blog off this week. Click on only blogs that I write, that Aidan writes, that CEO Joe writes, that Stevie Stats writes, and AJ.
That's good for me. Clowny to the Raiders. I apologize specifically to Jalen Reagor. It is my fault. I'm very sorry for ruining the start of your career. I will be better going forward, and I will go back to being depressed and cynical. I am sorry, Philadelphia. That's all I have.